Welcome back to Public Affairs on Peach. It's a side of the story that is rarely told. A former pimp tells us why he sold girls on the streets and why he's now fighting to save their lives.
At the age of 10, I started drinking and smoking marijuana. Started dabbling with pills around the age of 13, some mescaline. And at the age of 16, I shot heroin for the first time and immediately fell in love. Living the life of a true drug addict, no one could do anything with me. The law, my parents, a lot of my friends that I did drugs with started going to jail. I saw this happening, still having the need for drugs. I began to pimp out my girlfriend.
How did you convince your girlfriend at the age of 16, she was 14, to be a prostitute and sell her body?
I said, if you really love me, you'll go downtown and sell your body and get my money.
What was the youngest girl you ever pimped out?
The youngest girl was my first prostitute. She was 14. In the beginning, I was passive because the drugs were manipulating me, so I wasn't as forceful as I ended up being in the later years. In the beginning, I was like, come on, please do this for me, and till I learned how the game goes, and the game's all about mind manipulation.
Did you ever get physically abusive with these women?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Beat them?
I've hit women. I'm not proud of it, but yes, I have. Yes, I have. It comes with the territory.
Derek's way or the highway?
Oh, of course.
Always?
Always. Always.
You see so many documentaries out there of these women who are prostitutes, and their pimps take all their money and control all their money. Did you control their money?
Yes.
You controlled their pay?
I controlled my money.
It wasn't their money?
No. I pimped for that money. I sent them to work to get that money for me, with the understanding that you will have a better lifestyle because of that. You have to understand, Brandon, that most of these girls, when they come into the game, they're already physically or sexually abused, most of the time by a friend or family member. They're definitely sexually active, and they have low self-esteem. A lot of them come from the ghetto. The mindset is they're missing something, and the pimp fills the void in their life. A pimp fills their void. I was God to those women, and that's the way that game goes. When I was in the game, it was known throughout the pimp community, and I traveled throughout this country and abroad. It was known that if you had an underage girl, you brought her to Atlanta. Here in Atlanta, it was known it was the safest place to bring an underage girl.
And get away with it.
And get away with it.
Still happening now?
Still happening today.
How young?
I'm looking for a 15-year-old girl. We're trying to rescue a 15-year-old girl right now.
Derek Williams, 30 years later, rescues prostitutes from the violence he once promoted. He runs a church-funded program, Back to the Streets. He's married now with a 1-year-old daughter. His wife, Crystal, seen here, was actually his one-time prostitute.
You married a woman you used to pimp out?
Yes, I married the last prostitute I had, Crystal. I gave her the option when I left Boston. I left Boston to come down here and get out of the game, to change my life. And I gave her the option of staying in Boston by herself, going to be with another pimp, or coming here with me and trying a new way of life. She chose to come with me and try a new way of life, and it's been wonderful.
When you go out into the streets and you see these young girls, as young as 14 out there, their bodies being sold for money to these pimps, do you ever want to go out there and rescue them and save them from that terrible life?
When I see the girls, my heart breaks, because I know behind the facade that she is even putting up, there's a hurt little girl under there. And like, I think of some of the stories that girls have told me over the years, horror stories of what these men do to them once they get them wherever they're going. You know, the girls aren't only abused by the pimps, they're abused by the tricks, you know, they're abused by other girls. You know, it's a very lucrative yet dangerous lifestyle. We spend about 40 to 60 hours a week on the streets, day and night.
Trying to save these young girls?
Trying to save young girls, building relationships with the girls, with the pimps, drug addicts, homeless people.
Letting them know there's another way out.
Letting them know there's another way out, and if you're willing to walk that way, we'll walk with you.
Well, joining me now is the state senator who has fought for years to crack down on sex trafficking, Senator Renee Unterman. Joining us this morning. Senator, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
You just heard a former pimp, Derek Williams, say that Atlanta, Metro Atlanta in Georgia, was the place to be for many years for pimps to come down here and prostitute young girls. It was a $50 fine and a misdemeanor.
Yes.
Why is Georgia have such a problem with sex trafficking?
Well, the main reason is that Atlanta is a major trading convention, and people come here to have a good time, and they go to the Cheetah Lounge and they get all worked up and they want to go out on the street. The second thing is, with the mobility of people, the law enforcement has just turned their back on the issue, and it's very unfortunate.
You have fought for years to protect these girls. House Bill 200 was just passed. What now is law enforcement allowed to do to really crack down on these pimps out there on the streets?
Well, the main thing we're teaching law enforcement is the subject of sexual exploitation, and not going after the girls and putting the girls in jail to actually go after the pimps. And that's what House Bill 200 does. It strengthens the fines up to $50,000, and also a pimp can be put into jail for up to 100 years. And that sends a strong message to them that Atlanta and Georgia is not going to tolerate it anymore.
I know some legislation that you had tried to get passed last year was basically saying that if a girl is 16 or under and she is a prostitute out there on the street, to not arrest her, not treat her like a criminal, but treat her like a victim. That legislation did not pass.
No, it didn't. I've had a very rocky road. To begin with, I couldn't even talk about sex and 50-year-old men at the state capitol, much less on the floor of the state senate, and it has been a very rocky road. And I believe any child under 16 years old is a victim, and they should be treated as a victim and not as a criminal.
Why do you think something like that lawmakers wouldn't sign on to?
You would be surprised. Like I say, just a few years ago, lawmakers went to the Cheetah Lounge at lunchtime and had martinis and went back to the floor of the Senate and voted. Of course, it's not that way now, but it's changing the message, it's changing the culture, and we're in the process of doing that. It's been very slow, but the most important thing is getting the word out that this occurs and it happens.
This new law, quick answer, will it work? Will it help crack down?
Yes, it will, because it's training law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges that this is a problem and to go after the pimps that this gentleman is talking about.
Senator Unterman, thank you for your time today, and thank you for kind of giving us an insight as far as lawmakers go and the laws that are passed, and I'm sure you're going to continue your fight.
Thank
you for your time. We appreciate that. And when we come back, communities from across the state get out their comfort zone. They get out of it, and they decide to take action. And later this.
I know many things, and I'll teach them to you. You'll love working in candy.
How this fairy tale movie made right here in Georgia is helping fight against child trafficking. You're watching Public Affairs on Peach.